Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Well, we've got another great edition of Freed on Business for you here today. Last week, I attended the Trends and Strategies Conference for the UF Center for the Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Studies. We'll talk about the things that I've learned there at the conference. We're also going to interview one of their students to see why she chose to go to UF and whether or not she's got a job coming out of school 6 months early. Of course, as always, I want to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry Automotive. I just got my wife her brand new QX60. We love it. She won't let me touch it or drive it. But it's an amazing vehicle, and our friends at Warren Henry treat us like family, just the way they're going to treat you. They've been a sponsor of the show for 12 going on 13 years, and I can't thank Eric, Warren, Larry, and the rest of the team, Ismet, over there, Sebastian. All of them treat us like gold. They'll treat you like gold. Remember, always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. And now on with the show. Mr. Mendoza, would you please bring our guest on? There she is. Hey, Emmy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us again. You were on, I think it was a year ago with some other students. So I want to thank you so much. I'm happy to profile you today. You really are everything that the program stands for, and I'm really pleased to have you on. I'd like to give a big shout out to Eddie, your dad, my friend for a long time. So Emmy, let's talk a little bit about what we learned at the conference here in the first part. And then in the second part, we'll talk about why you chose to go to UF and what UF has done for you, whether you got a job out of it, stuff like that. So Emmy, what were some of the important things that you learned at the conference? What were some of the things that you found to be surprising or that you found to be consistent with your experiences in the marketplace?
Right. This obviously was my first Trends conference. So I didn't know too much what to expect. I knew there would be presenters, and I knew we would have obviously our advisory board and alumni that would be in Orlando at Trends. When I got there Thursday, we really kicked it off with actually a women's luncheon that a lot of the advisory board, the women on the advisory board hosted. So there's, not a lot of us women in the program. So we were all able to get together and have an intimate lunch, which was amazing. And I got to really just have like intimate talks with, people like Lisa Diltz and even Angela Tharp and women like that, and just kind of talk about, what's been going on, in the marketplace, in the industry. And that was really great. But also there was many different speakers we had during Trends, which was like, how the Live Local Act is impacting development, to the Florida energy policy and how that impacts development and costs. And I remember another talk that was like about reducing the retail crime for, cities and things like that. I learned so much in the conference. Aside from just the talks, I learned so much with just networking and speaking, with these members and alumni and just these giants in the industry. And it was an amazing experience.
Well, first of all, high five to Lisa and Angela for putting that program together.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what their advice was to women in the business? And before you do, I just want you to know that I firmly believe real estate's a mentorship business. That's why I give back to the students in the university. And my mentor in the business was a woman named Sue Karras, who's now a senior executive at JLL in their Washington. Oh yeah. I give credit where credit is due. And when I worked for Mr. Bergstrom, my supervisor was a woman named Karen Marshall. So my first two mentors were females in the business. Of course, I had my mom at the beginning, but so what were some of the things that Lisa and Angela might have said that you could share? Now, obviously nothing personal, but general stuff.
I think the overall theme, I've met with these women many times. Luckily, it was not my first time, meeting with these women at Trends. I've met them. We had an advisory board panel, them come in for Women's Real Estate Society, which I'm co-president of, and also just other, advisory board retreats and things like that. So I think it was not so much one thing that they said, but this continued advice of, how to pave our own way when this is a male dominated industry, and how to keep your head down and stay focused, and that we're just as good as the other boys. We're just gonna show them what we can do. And it was just honestly this continued theme of just encouragement and just staying determined, and to not have a kind of that sense of imposter syndrome that can happen as women, and being like we're in a male space, like are we as good, and just helping a lot of us get over that and just kind of staying the course.
Well, the answer is obviously yes. Okay. Obviously, yes. And you come with an amazing toolkit that you get out of the university. But let's talk about some of the speeches that you may have sat in on. And, when I go to these things, I usually only remember one or two things from the conference. Last year was the lady that was speaking about ESG. This year, there were two speakers that really resonated with me. One was, I have her card right here, Rebecca Rocky,
Yes, she did the
Cushman and Wakefield research executive. And what resonated with me was when she showed the revenue projections for the industry and how everything, or I guess the NOI really, and how everything went super negative in all the product sectors last year and should continue this year. A very realistic view that you don't typically see. So it's not going to be the easiest year coming up. And then the other slides that I saw that I found interesting was the current cost of energy in the state of Florida, and then the cost of energy after they green the state of Florida, which went from being a benefit to a very difficult economic negative. Then we talked about affordable housing. And the answer to that is block by block, project by project.
Right.
There really is no answer except that we all pull together and realize we have to live together.
Right. Yeah, I really enjoyed Rebecca Rocky. Her that was the first one. Obviously, she was the first speaker and the first one to sit in on. And I really enjoyed, when she asked the crowd, she was like, okay, raise your hand if you think this is going to be an amazing year. Raise your hand if you think it'll be okay. And if you just think this will be, horrible outlook for, 2024. And kind of just echoing your same sentiments about, that speech. And the affordable housing, was obviously really interesting to me, just kind of hearing what they had to say, due to my dad does a lot of affordable housing. And so I'm just kind of, my ears perked up when I got to just hear what everybody's thinking and what they're saying. And I definitely agree. I think you're right.
Well, thank you. Now, what's your opinion of what you're seeing in the real estate economy? When I graduated undergraduate, that was 40 years ago when the rates were in the 20s. So I stayed in school and I got my real estate degree as they got rid of all the tax write-offs and the savings and loan crisis started edging our way. Boy, oh boy, it's been a heaping mass of interesting experiences for me. What do you see and feel is going on in the real estate industry as somebody who's looking to begin practicing? What is your feel after all those speeches and the real experience of what people are feeling right now?
For someone I feel like who's coming into the industry, I think there's a lot of different perspectives. And I think from the perspective of a student right now, what we're seeing in the industry, from a student perspective and trying to get a job perspective, it is very chaotic. It feels like a little bit. I think especially, coming into this program, and, our MSRE program has a 100%, placement rate. And so early on, we weren't seeing, a lot of jobs, coming in towards the end of 2023, still not seeing a lot of positions opening up. And, I actually had this conversation with my dad, and he was like, he's like, I wouldn't be worried. A lot of us are looking to see what happens in Q1, to see, what our budgets are, what's going to happen for who we're going to be able to bring on. I know, especially for those who are trying to go into development, this is a really hard time because there's not a lot of new developments that are occurring. And so working for a developer is, I think, very far and few between. But I think what we're seeing as we're entering into the next few months is that there's more positions that are, opening up. More companies are seeing, what their books are looking like and hiring. And I think there is a bright future. We all know in this industry that it's a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So I think we're just riding the wave, and we're going to see, where that takes us.
I apologize for appearing to be rude, but I was texting with one of the people that's watching the podcast. They're very interested in learning what your experience on campus has been, because they see all the BS that goes around in the press. So I'd like to take a short break and then come back and talk about why you chose UF and what your experience on campus has been.
Awesome.
Yeah, Emme, you're just tremendous. Your dad, I know how proud he is because he's my friend. Mr. Mendoza, a little bit early, but that's because I want to spend a lot of time talking about the program and the experience on campus for the students. So we'll be right back after this with more Freed on Business and our special guest, Emme Benoit. Yeah, there you go. The Heater champions, and we've got a champion on our show today. She's a tremendous young person. We'll talk about where she's going to matriculate for her job and her perspective on where she went to school in the next segment. It's really great. Emme has an electric personality, and I'm so blessed to have her on the show today. I'm also blessed to have Warren Henry as a sponsor on the show, going into our 13th year with Warren Henry. Thank you so much to Eric Day. Larry's in. Warren's in, my good friend Ismet Yagzi, who runs the sales, and of course the young gentleman Sebastian, who helped my wife and I lease our brand new QX60, which is an amazing vehicle. I recommend anybody looking for a car to check that out. And by the way, if you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you do check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar. Now Lincoln up at 151st and Biscayne. In Gainesville, where Emme is, they sell Audis. My gosh, the cars up there are so amazingly beautiful. They've got award-winning Land Rover, Range Rover store down in South Dade. They just opened up another one adjacent to the Lamborghini store up in West Broward. And, of course, they've got their store down in the Keys where they sell all the great nameplates. They're all great cars, and they all come with a Warren Henry Advantage, a long list of services that you get. It's terrific. I love it. Join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best service, always the best price, always Warren Henry. Well, that's me emailing and texting to people. My phone's exploding. This one is from one of the super luxury realtors in town who's asking me if I can help her client get a HELOC loan. So yes, the answer is, of course I can. And I'll treat that person with the utmost of respect, just like they were a member of my own family, which is what I do. I help families from all across the globe execute their business plan. I'm working with one family right now from Europe. We're actually doing private equity transactions. I'm working with another family from Orlando. We're doing multifamily development transactions, if you can believe that. These guys still have a deal that may work. Doing these high-end home construction loans with some high net worth investors. And I'm even doing some work in the horizontal real estate residential development space. That's what's hot right now. That's what can get done right now. I work with families from all across the world to solve their real estate problems. Call me, reach out to me, DM me. I've got enough gray hair to answer the question. I've been through this market cycle many, many times. Remember, DM me, reach out me. My personal brand is it makes me feel great to help you achieve your goals. And whenever you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Ron, today it's our annual retrospective of the University of Florida Trends and Strategies Conference. I'm blessed to be joined by Emme Benoit, one of the smart young people that's entering our industry, and it's very difficult to follow in the footsteps of somebody who's been very successful already. Emmy's going to try to do that. She's already beaten her dad to the radio show. She's been on twice now. Eddie's got to come on. I'd love to have Eddie come on and talk about his impressions of solving the affordable housing problem. He's extraordinarily successful. But Emme, rather than solving the world's problems, let's talk about some of the things that you are an expert on. You got your degree in supply chain management. That's what my niece is getting her degree in.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's going to work for Accenture. High five to her.
Nice.
So tell me a little bit about where you're matriculating to next and why you decided to go into the real estate program rather than following up on your supply chain degree.
Right. So I guess I'll kind of start with why I even, came into real estate and then kind of talk about, where I'm going post. So I've always known from pretty much a young age that I wanted to go into real estate. I wanted to be in this industry. I didn't know in what capacity, but I knew it was always real estate for me. But I did want to go to the University of Tennessee, which is, where I graduated from. They do not have an undergrad or graduate program for real estate. So I always knew, okay, I'm going to get a master's. And my dad and I looked at what the courses I would be taking in my undergrad, would they prepare me enough to go to a master's program? And in supply chain, which actually is really helpful, especially if you're in the industrial sector for real estate. I knew I would be prepared. And so I knew I wanted to get my master's, and what better program for me is the University of Florida's MSRE program. There was no ifs, ands, or buts of if I was going to apply. It was just, am I going to get in? And that's kind of led me to like my why. I've grown up around real estate. My dad is a developer. My uncles are, architects. Like I've grown up in the industry. And so I'm just here, to continue on that legacy. It's my passion. And I eat, breathe, and sleep it. But post graduation from the MSRE program, I have accepted my job with Pacific Coast Capital Partners, PCCP. They're located in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Buckhead area. And I will be working in private equity in their debt asset management side as an analyst. So I will be starting that June 10th, and I am beyond excited.
As I say, real estate is a mentorship business, but going to work for a firm like that where you get to touch a lot of deals and get to understand why they did or didn't do a deal is extraordinarily important. You can't find a better place to start. Tell me about your experience in Gainesville and on campus at the University of Florida. How did you find the environment? What's your thoughts on the program, the construction of the program, the people in the program, and their investment in you as a student?
Yeah. So even before I stepped foot on the campus, when I got into the program, I immediately knew that I wanted to get involved. I didn't know how, but, I spoke with Courtney Mack and I said, whatever you need me to do, I'm here to help. Like whatever I can do, I would love to be a part of it. So it's funny, even before stepping on campus, I had already become an ambassador for the program. So I am an ambassador for our program. And also I was called by Miss Mack and Audrey asking if myself and Peyton Reeser, who was also on the show before, we would spearhead the UF Women's Real Estate Society and really bring it from just like a club that meets every so often to really like a structure and its own lane at the University of Florida, which we have done, getting registered with the university and hosting events. So that's been amazing. But my experience in the program has been nothing short of amazing. You come into this program and you're extraordinarily nervous. You don't know what to expect. This is a master's level program. This is the best program in the United States. I mean, if you have your professors are the ones who wrote the textbook across the nation, that can seem a little daunting. But you come to realize that you become so close with faculty. They're like, a second family. I go to the Bergstrom Center at least every week to just go bother Dr. Becker, not to go talk about anything, just to, go see him, go see Miss Wagner, to go see, our faculty and staff. Is amazing. And the people in the program are also, we've become so close. It's 60 of us. And I remember a few weeks in when Dr. Lang came in to teach the second half of intro to real estate, he was like, do you guys hang out? Because we are so close with one another. We are just chatterboxes. He was like, I feel like this is high school. Y'all will not stop talking to each other. It has been amazing. The courses that we've taken have really been, very encompassing of the things that we need to know. Of course, we're not masters of everything that we've learned, but we've got a great introduction to things like investment property analysis, appraisal. They added building construction. We just finished up development. The sky's the limit, I feel like, in this program. We have access to over 160 board members, software training, CoStar, the Bergstrom Center. You can get licensing through the state of Florida, Women's Real Estate Society, Real Estate Society. So this program, I mean, it rivals, every other program, I feel like, in the nation. And I guess I'm biased to say, as a Gator, I think it's the best. But I think the type of students that the University of Florida cranks out are a testament to just how great the program is, because I just interviewed for my job with one of the vice presidents was a former MSRE. So it just kind of shows, how far the Gator Nation reaches, but also, as we kind of call it, our own little fraternity, the MSRE program, the reach that we have, and just how amazing that, like, this family that they've created and the legacy that, we're just moving forward and pushing forward for those who are going to come behind us.
If you have the ability to talk to a prospective student, it's not cheap, between the cost of going there and the opportunity cost of not working for a year and a half. That's a lot of money for a young person. What do you think the return on investment is for somebody? And let me give you my perspective. Lots of people want to get in real estate, but if you want to do it at a certain level, you have to have the professional credentials, and there is no better program in the country than the UF program. Props to Kelly Bergstrom, David Ling, Wayne Archer, and the rest of the team for getting all that done, and the board members for helping. So what do you think?
Right. Yeah. So, of course, and I'm definitely a great person to ask, because this is my second time being out of state for schooling. So my dad is very, very tired, he's got it's 3 of us at home. So he's got 3 college tuitions, and I'm, out of state again. What I will say, just for any prospective students, because I speak with a lot as an ambassador coming in, there's a lot of opportunities that the center does a great job of pushing out scholarships. We have like individual companies that give things out and money, and apartments through Nathan Collier. So there's definitely that. But I think when we're talking about like what is the return on investment, the dollar sign is, I don't think that we can, even, sum it up with all the things that we gain from the program. I mean, like we said, this business is definitely a relationship business, and having access in the capacity of a student to advisory board members who are the elite of the elite, the top of the top, with all of these real estate giants, and it's in and of itself is, I think, just so invaluable. Having access to them is probably one of the biggest, I think, line items and the things that we get through the program. And also we have, memberships that we get that we are not having to pay for. We get to go to conferences where we're networking. And you start to see as you get through the program how much this networking matters, because it's actually yesterday we had a few people from Heinz, one of the biggest development companies in the world, and it just so happened that one of them lives in Buckhead, where my office is going to be, and my company that I will be working for is investors with them. So being able to network with him, he also knows the dean of the building construction school. Like I also know the dean. So you network with a lot of people. And I think creating those relationships is what opens the doors in this industry, because as big as commercial real estate is, it's very small and it's such a niche, I feel like, industry sometimes. And it's very much, if you're not at the table, you're not at the table. So a program like this really gives you opportunity to get sat at the table and to build relationships to where you will get it. Like someone is going to mention your name. You're going to find that job. You're going to get that opportunity, because the more people the more people that are talking about you.
Eddie, she's tremendous. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what. It's just amazing. You're so great. So let me give it to you in a word. Okay, one word, and then you take this back as the ambassador, and you socialize the word internally. Ecosystem.
I love it.
Okay, it's an ecosystem.
It really, truly is.
And I never thought of it this way. You motivated me to try to figure out a way to say what you were saying. And it's an ecosystem. Real estate is an ecosystem. It's pretty closed. When you call somebody on the phone, if you're lucky enough to get somebody on a cold call, they're going to know in 5 seconds whether you're full of it or not, or you know what you're talking about. That's what going to this first place is. You've got a great toolkit, but you haven't really worked on enough cars yet.
Right.
This is going to give it to you, and you're going to be really accretive across the board to the industry as well as the community. I know the community part, but it's an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem. I utilized part of my little talents just today for a friend of mine. There was a person at the conference whose child goes to a different university who's graduating, and she asked me if I could help that person get a job in the Carolinas. One phone call, three interviews. So, it really is an ecosystem.
It truly is. Yes.
I don't want anybody to short sell it, but it's the thing I lead with, because a lot of people can teach Argus. A lot of people can give access. A lot of people can read books, write books, have group meetings, but it's when you have the involved alumni that are in places that can actually help you begin your career. I think that's really one of the benefits of.
I definitely agree. I think that's one of the biggest benefits. I think the program, we're learning a lot of the basics and a lot of the theory that we need to know, but that alumni is what kind of bridges the gap into, okay, they know our basics. They know what we can do. Now it's like showing them who we are and how determined we are. And I think that's what really makes the program different. They already know that we can do Argus and we can do Excel, but meeting with them and having access to them is our opportunity to really show them, okay, I'm Emme Benoit, and let me show you what I can do for you and how hard I will work for you.
That's so refreshing, because there's so many so many young people today that they don't have that perspective. The fact that you have drive and I wrote it down, drive and determination. Okay. That's something that's going to set you apart for the rest of your life that nobody can teach you. And I'm so proud to have gotten to know you over the past couple of years, Emme. I'm so proud. I want to thank you so much for being here today. I want to thank you so much for projecting kindness and goodness to the world.
Thank you.
Truth and transparency. I'm so proud to be affiliated with an organization that produces people like yourself, and that people like yourself want to be a part of. It's a testament to everything that Kelly has wanted and created. Mr. Bergstrom himself, all the way top to bottom. He should be so proud of you and what you've accomplished. Thank you so much. If you could stick around while I wrap the show, I'd love to speak to you after the show in the green room.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Of course, Emmy. I want to thank Nikki Wagner from the UF Center for Real Estate Studies, the Associate Director, for helping us put this all together. Yeah, look, my thing matches that. I got my little helper here today, too. I want to thank the University of Florida for giving me my start and helping me lift off. I'll forever be grateful. I'll forever give back to the University of Florida. I wanted Emmy to talk about her experience at the university, because there's so many things that people wonder about what my experience at the University of Florida will be like. It was tremendous, just like mine was. Oh, God, 40 years ago? Today, yesterday, I just talked to somebody who's working at a firm that's run by my friend Dean Saunders, who I met in 1980. Oh my God, am I old? So remember, my name is Jim Freed. This is Freed on Business. We're on every week. We drop a new podcast every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. We try to keep it informative and fast paced. Text me, DM me, email me if you have an idea or somebody you want to proffer for the show. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry Automotive, and of course, the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies, the Bergstrom Center. Thanks to Nathan Collier for what he does over there too. I'd like to remind everybody that I feel great every time I help people achieve their dreams and goals, like Emmy. Thank you so much for being on the show, Emmy. And reach out to me, DM me. We'll be on next week. Why? Just because I love doing this. And remember, the person that wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, the rest of the ride is for you.